And if you'd all like to just introduce yourself?
I'm Sketchy Sounds, so now I can tell. Okay, there we go. I'm Sketchy Sounds. I do acoustic music, I also write, I do art, and I'm a regular contributor to Free Network.
My name is Jim, I'm one half of the band known as AcousticBrony, and I don't like it. And yeah. And I'm in the same band as Hi, I'm Cluttervix, and I'm part of this nothing Cluttervix.
And I'll be a part of Big Slow, that's everything in Cluttervix. I mainly record most of the music and do the mixing and mastering and harmony.
He does everything. I'm just here for my good looks.
And I'm Bronyfied. I do hard rock and metal type of things. By myself, like that.
So if you would like to ask any questions to the panel, please speak to Lavender at the back, and he will ask the questions for you over the mic. So feel free to go over there. Don't just sit there.
That's all at once.
Can you feel it?
You guys are just giving off energy.
Control your enthusiasm, please. Alright, got the first question for you.
When you started making music, did you ever think that you would be making pony music?
What was the question?
When you first started making music, did you think that you'd be making pony music?
No, because when I first started making music, it was like when I was 14, I think. So pony wasn't really a thing back then, or it was, but it was mainly for girls.
Did you ever consider that you would be writing music for a theme, for a show? Sorry, I was distracted by it. It's like myself looking at myself, myself shining, self-section. Yes. So, could you repeat the question? It's Jim's turn, isn't it?
What was the question?
Again.
Could you please repeat the question, like into the microphone?
Sorry,
please, and it's a bit attention.
Being immature, sorry.
Okay, the question was, when you started writing music, did you think you'd be writing it for ponies or for any kind of theme?
That would be no.
Not really.
No, it wasn't, well, I'm stating the obvious, but it wasn't as big as it was like. It was, people had something to work with. There's this new inspiration. There's one show, G4 came out, massive inspiration, relatable characters. So, you know, it wasn't very, accessible as inspiration as the other generations, and that's probably why.
So, long story short now.
Okay, I didn't think I'd ever start making music. It's just you just need to write. I was like, making stuff is happening. Who got into music?
You could have sent it to you one day.
Yeah, it's like, they started sending stuff like, why? I'm not good at this stuff. What are you doing? But long story short, hell in the middle.
No, you don't see stuff like this coming, it just happens, basically.
Yeah, it really does. Like when I started doing music, did like video game music covers and stuff, and as compared to this, at some point, is that up or down or down? I don't know. But I guess not.
Thanks for the question. Alright, you guys ready for the next one?
Afternoon, guys. This is a question for all of you. I know that sort of collaborations between Brony musicians is quite a big thing. Are there any Brony musicians out there that you haven't worked with yet that you would particularly like to, and why?
Yeah, of sad because we've known each other for quite a while, but it was like, this is actually our first time meeting, by the way, at this club.
Tell them, we've been walking.
Taste of life. But yeah, I would like to work with them. And Tombstone has said he will work with me at some point when he comes up with something that will work, which is pretty cool. One day, yes. One day. But yeah, I'm pretty much open to collaborating with like just about any other musician out there, as long as I can work well with them. I mean, I've worked with Cluttervix a few times, and that's gone fairly well. So, but yeah, there's a few out there I would like to work with. Let's say these guys, Tombstone, and also Forest Rain sometimes if I get a hold of it. I would love to do something with him. I did manage to collaborate with some musicians I wanted to. A while ago. I worked with Fed recently, and that was fun. He's bonkers, by the way. Yeah.
Well, I'm pretty much the same. I'm open to basically any collab really. I've got. It was supposed to be resigned for you. How long ago did we say we were going to do it? Yeah, there you go.
That's the thing for the drum.
He's always drunk.
You should have asked me last night.
I actually am going to be doing a collab with Amanda Brony at some point because we agreed to do it, but it's like that was also about 2 years ago that we said we would do something. It's like that guy's just insanely busy.
It's kind of hard for me.
Yeah, so I'm being too busy, pretty much.
I don't know. Is there anyone in particular? No? Just anyone really?
Well, there's way too many. For starters, these guys, and everyone else.
So basically, just everyone.
Yes.
Okay,
Anyone who would agree to work with us?
Anyone stupid enough?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, where we go then? Where we go then? Let's go then.
Yeah, I do want to collaborate with a lot of people. The thing is, I think I'm kind of a hard person to collaborate with because I'm lazy and a major procrastinator. So, but I do like when it works, it works. But sometimes I just like drop projects when they're just not going anywhere. Right now I'm trying to do a thing with the guy Pony, who's a pretty awesome guy. I'm trying to do a thing with him, so hopefully that'll happen at some point. But yeah, that's just about it.
Hi. If you name one song that you made that you don't like, if you could remake it now, how would you change it and improve it?
I know what I'm saying.
Well, why didn't each have answer first?
So we can do it at the same time? Because I think I know what you're going to say. Okay, what for it? 1, 2, 3, loyalty. As a track, when I wrote it, it was, I didn't think it was going to be this big. Definitely, it was just a small little acoustic. No, it was a small little acoustic thing that I just wrote on the inside, and I'm not going to do anything with this.
So you can man up and make it into a drop song.
Pretty much, yeah. But the thing about loyalty is that after listening to it again a few times, I was like, this sounds so repetitive. It's just amazing. I don't know why people like it now.
Yeah.
I really don't.
It's one of the, it needs like some changing up a bit, some variation.
Yeah. So if we were to change it, then we'd add a bit more to it.
Instead of being so straightforward.
But yeah, that's definitely one I'd like to change. Definitely. Sketchy.
Let me think. There was a song I did a little while ago which I wasn't entirely happy with because I just kind of threw it out there. And I can't even remember what the hell it was called, and that's rather terrible. Oh yeah, I remember now. It was when I released End of Millennium. I kind of did The other thing I'd like to do with it is add some more instrumentals to it, because currently it's just a guitar and my voice, but the thing is, what I would love is to add some strings to it, like a cello and maybe piano, I don't know. But it could do with a little bit more depth to it, and I think at some point I'm probably just going to grab section and say chorus and cello first, please. Except in my end, please, and just say now instead. I got saturate. But yeah, that's the main one that springs to mind.
Well, everything. Well, the one that comes to mind the most is the first song we ever did, which is basically a Bronyfied cover. A Bronyfied cover of Set Life Away, right? It's called Never Been Pain. It was really, really stupid. I changed the name and the everything. That was so stupid.
That's also how we met. He recorded that song, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna add some vocals to this. It was really bad. And then I was like, oh, no, it's Cluttervix. Oh, it's so big the names.
Yes,
and I got
Also, if you haven't noticed, Mix is dying.
I got the heebie-jeebies really bad. My throat, everything. But yeah, there's every single song I can pick something and go, I want to redo that. Especially when it comes to mastering and mixing, because when I listen back to some of the stuff we have, it's like listening to it, it's like, oh wow, this sounds really, really bad. And of course, I always want to add more stuff, but I'm kind of limited by my skills. There is none. So yeah, the short answer is everything.
Yeah, pretty much. Whenever I make a new song, the previous song sounds really outdated. Usually, and that's mixing and mastering, which I'm still not that great at. But like, when you get progressively better, you just start noticing that you were really stupid a while back. There's that, and then like the Brony Melody, for example, like I kind of regret. I wanted to like add a few more songs to it, but like they were too hard, and I was sleazy at home. And I wanted to put it out on the internet. So yeah, you always want to fix something, but you end up not. Yeah.
Just get it over with. Thanks.
Hello. Hi. Question for all of you. Why should I listen to your music? You shouldn't.
I'm going to skip that one. Why would you? Yeah. But listen, I think you're better off not. Yeah. I think your life would be a much better place if you hadn't. I pity everyone who's at SSC. Sitting there, why? They had to go for it twice for us. People. Yeah.
Oh no, I got the double short papers or something.
Yes.
Yeah, like Clutter said, there is no reason for anyone to listen to our stuff at all. Unless you want a good laugh.
Yeah. More
you start writing a song, do you write it with the mindset of, okay, so this is going to be a pony song, or it's going to be about a certain character, or do you write a song just with ideas flowing into your head, like normal, and then you get kind of halfway through and you think this could work quite well as a pony song, or do you get like inspiration from art and things like that?
My simple answer to that is yes.
just yes.
I mean, it honestly, it varies. It can be any one of those things that causes it to happen. I don't have any set particular means or method of writing a song. Any one of those things you mentioned can happen for writing a song. So it comes from all sorts of directions. There isn't a hard and fast set method of doing it.
Well, I guess in my case, because I tend to write some songs in music writing. Just saying. Yeah. What I do is, if I want to write something about a character, I'll basically get myself a piece of paper and list down everything that makes this character. List to your best friend. That's all I know is what she's saying. I'll write everything about this character and what makes them them. And I will then write lyrics based off what I've got. As of late, it's gotten a bit more difficult for me because I don't know, my interest in it just kind of weird. But hopefully season 4 will come along and give me some inspiration.
Yeah. Season 4 will bring new songs.
That's it. That's what you're saying?
Yes. Yes. We're bored. Yes.
Well, the answer to that question would be, just don't know. It's like your face.
You just doesn't know.
Anyway, basically, what I do is I start writing and just see where it goes. I never actually said I want to write a song about this. Well, I did that once and it went horrible. I just think, write a song, sit down, procrastinate, have a beer, and then don't do it for the next 6 months, and then eventually. That actually happened.
Best songwriting method ever.
Well, I don't do lyrics.
Yeah, he doesn't write the song. I have something to do with the band. I actually do something.
I've done it once. The newest song we haven't released it yet, but we played it at the Summer Sun, where I just edited a little bit of the lyrics, and even that was so hard. I'm not very good at lyrics.
He's so bad he wrote a song about chest hair.
I'm working on that one.
Manchester.
Keep in mind, it is a tale about the mightiest chest hair, and it will be glorious. Just wait.
Let's go.
What?
Is that about sales?
Yeah, that's about
It's
sales.
about sales.
So yeah.
I forgot the question.
Do you write songs?
Oh, right. Well, it depends, because I don't write lyrics either, or because I can't sing. So it really depends on what I'm doing. If I'm like making a cover, then obviously it's based on the original thing. But sometimes when I'm like writing a riff, it can either be like inspired by something. Like, for example, my song, I forgot the name of my own song, something that and that was really inspired by like something dark and gritty. But then there's instances where you just do riffs and put them together, and then they end up being something, and then it's either pony yes or pony no. So, short answer, yes and no.
Thank you.
Personally, what do you think the best example of your work is?
Difficult one. I was actually me on the vocals, because the one with feather had different vocals. One that had me on the vocals that was a good example would either be The Bride of Really Caitlin or Our Throne Cage. Both of those fall the same G, are basically just a qualification of the times they are Caitlin. But I would say probably The Bride of Really Caitlin is one of the best examples of my work.
I think, personally, what was it? I don't see anything. There is something over your head. It was burned. Personally, I think my favourite songs I've written and performed, but composed and finally got out there was Our Fly High, which is one of my personal favourites, which I keep saying. And Generosity, which just came out.
Yeah, I'll probably have to agree with Generosity. Amazing. A lot of work that took way too long. Such a bad.
It takes about time, so it took a year for us to actually release that.
I'm sorry.
Well, perfect example of, well, my talent is when I'm not playing at all. But if I had to choose one, I'd say Perfect Scheme, which is one of the songs with SSC, which is basically the rockiest song I could ever write, which is still not enough. And it's groovy.
That one is a perfect example of what you want to go back and redo, because that was so badly mixed, mastered, that it actually hurts my brain every time I play it.
It hurts my everything, persistent.
Yeah,
It's a good song, just it's not.
if performed by anyone else, it could be good.
Oh, sorry.
But yeah, my personal opinion would be the one that's not out yet, which is One Faulty Step. Because I had a lot of fun actually making the music for it, and it was a lot more varied than just playing some chords and then maybe a little bad solo. It actually had a lot of variation compared to other songs. So that's my personal favorite.
A song to the once, you don't actually need to work on that much.
Well, it took a while, sure, but the general start of the song, I was very happy with it. It's just, it took so long to finish, so I got tired of it, but I still love it.
So yeah, that's the answer.
Mine's probably the rolling metal mentally, because like, because I like mentalies a lot. To those who don't know what that means, it's when you put a whole bunch of different songs together to one big song. And they're just really fun to do, and they're like, when you figure out like a smart way to transition from one song to another, it's just a joyful feeling. But I think I did a fairly okay job with that one, so I guess that one. Thanks for the question.
So I'm here to steal your secrets. So I want to know, what do you struggle most with in post-production, and how do you solve it? Sorry, can you repeat that? What do you struggle the most with in post-production? Post-production, there we go. And how do you solve it?
Right, the main thing I struggle with is simply getting the levels right. One of the problems I have actually is, as you can hear, my voice is kind of deep. The problem with that is that when your main instrument is an acoustic guitar, you kind of want to keep the bass from that instrument. And if you don't see about getting some of the bass right at the instrument or your voice, you get far too much bass, and then you just end up with a whole complete mess. Which is what some of my early releases were until I learned how to use an EQ properly, or an equalizer if you prefer. So yeah, the main way of getting around that, learn to EQ properly. That will solve a lot of problems in terms of different sounds interfering with each other. Because if you single out the bands where the most part of the sound is, the most part of an instrument is doing the sound that makes the instrument that instrument, and just boost those parts and cut all the other bits, that will give you nice and clear separated sounds, and you won't have
The thing I struggle with most is everything. To put it simply. I cannot for the life of me master a rhythm. I just play music.
Run it down, send it to Mr. Brony. Or man,
Oh,
whoever's on one at a time.
yeah.
That's our way of fixing things.
Like I said, I've been watching this whole stuff that is called just play the guitar and
what I always struggle with is getting all the levels right. And, you know, when I get stuck, I sit listening to the song over and over and over and over again. And eventually you go deaf. You start not hearing things. So what I do is just open up Skype and send the link to Ed and Mysterious Brony and anyone who will listen to it and just say, oh, what do you want? And just
how many links did you send in the end? 50 different versions.
50 different versions. What about this one?
exactly the same.
Yeah, so that's basically what I do. I send to a bunch of people and then I take all of their input and just kind of combine it. What point were they making? Like, what stood out the most? Focus on that, try to fix it, and then do a new round until everyone's like, yeah, that works. That's my cue to go. Done.
Yeah, basically, usually for me it's like, you're basically, like you said, the levels, they're always a problem. And, you know, of course, that the frequencies don't interfere too badly, that there's not too much bass, all that type of stuff. Or just sometimes, you start hearing that you made, like, some stupid mistake on the guitar. Especially when if you do like either when you record or then you triple track, like your rhythm guitar for example, and you just notice that there's like a slight string buzz or something on one of the guitars, then you just re-record it. But other than that, nothing fancy. It's pretty simple.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Which songs gave you the most trouble creating and why?
Sorry, could you repeat that?
Which song that you've created gave you the most trouble to create and why?
Right. Oddly enough, actually, it was a song of Two Sisters. That one was really pain to write. This was the thing. With that one, it was a case that the melody came first. The whole tune for it came first, but the lyrics were in pain, which in itself is a bit of an odd thing because I actually really like writing songs about women in Celestia. But for some reason that one, it was just like one huge pain from start to finish to actually write the lyrics for it. And then after that, figure out how I was going to fit those to the melody that I had in mind. But I got there in the end, and it was worth the struggle because the final result proved to be quite popular. And also a very nice listen as well. People can use it to themselves.
Well, I think for me, the song I've had the most trouble writing is actually most of the songs I haven't released yet. And I know it sounds weird, but with things like I'll Fly Higher and Generosity and Loyalty, they're more bursts of inspiration. Like I'll start the thing and get through it in like a day or 2 days. Yeah, it just kind of happens. And as I said before in my earlier question, it's kind of weird for me. Like inspiration is different coming. It's coming out to more things and lyrics and stuff. So that's why I'm saying that it's much more difficult to write the songs that I haven't written yet because I don't know what else to write.
Yeah. That's something I've had to work on. Probably need Nightmare and F3 on that.
only gave you great eye contact.
Is this what the panel is saying?
Yes.
Advice.
It's has gone to this alley. Yeah. Anyway, God, what was the question? Alright, the most trouble. Well, it's kind of difficult to answer for me to match sort of the answer with Vix because our roles in making songs are kind of different. My role is to write the song and all the melodies and stuff, and then he basically does everything else. The most problematic song I ever wrote that I had to write was all of my songs are so freaking simple. But like Jimmy said, actually, the most troublesome song that I ever enjoyed was the ones I actually released. Because they were so annoying. It's so overly complex, it's not even fun to listen to anymore.
Like I mentioned earlier with the news track that's not out yet, that's the one I struggled the most with personally because there were some rules. I'm not going to go into details, but basically I kind of had to step up my game, and that made me really nervous and made me do a lot of stupid mistakes, and I just kept digging a hole deeper and deeper and deeper, and I just didn't know what I was doing anymore. So that would be the end of it. I'm not allowed to answer any other way.
Yeah, with me it's probably like everyone else said, that's a song that I haven't released before, and it's almost over when you kind of step out of your comfort zone and try doing something a bit different. I'm trying to do a bit more heavier and faster song than I usually do, and when I'm used to it, it like brings out a lot of problems that weren't an issue with like songs that are slower or lower. So yeah, it's coming up, the nightmare song. Yeah. That's for the question.
Hi everybody.
Hello.
So, I've got a question that applies to everybody. Are there any other instruments you guys would like to learn?
Wait, sorry?
Are there any other instruments that you guys would like to learn?
So that we would like to learn to play, you mean?
Yes.
Right. I wish I could play certain stringed instruments. I cannot play, for example, the cello, and that's one I would really love to learn. The only reason I haven't learned that is because I don't own one though, because cellos are ridiculously expensive. I know who owns a cello will know this, they cost several hundreds of pounds for a good one. Likewise, violin, some wind instruments as well. But I mean, this is the thing. I just have a habit of acquiring instruments as I go. Currently I own, let's see, I have a keyboard, 3 guitars, 3 ocarinas, and about 3 flutes, a glockenspiel that I acquired recently, a mandolin, I'm going to get another mandolin soon actually, and there are 1 or 2 other things as well. I have that many instruments I've lost track. And I know how to play pretty much all of them.
Okay. I think for me it's not really an instrument I like to learn, but I'd like to try and get into more electronic music, for sure. It's just something I've tried before, it hasn't really worked out, but it's something I'd like to kind of learn more on how to do. So yeah. I'd say we'll try.
You stole it! You stole it!
Sorry. I've tried playing drum once.
Banjo handle and abandoned the movies. They're very tough. Well, if I had to choose, I'd say the drums. Oh. Really? No, okay.
Personally, it up, did this, and the sound it made was so horrible. So I just put it down and said, you know what, this is a disgrace to music. I'm not touching this again, but I do want to learn how to play it. What could be? So, yeah, but there's a bunch of other things too. All instruments, I want to be able to play them all, but
You like that? You like
Yeah, the more instruments you know, the more happy you will. Based in my philosophy. But I even have some instruments that I've been meaning to learn. Like I have an accordion. I love to play that. And like a lot of folk instruments. I'd love to learn to play like flutes and stuff. And a banjo. Banjo would be awesome. I really love to probably play banjo. And also synths. I want to know how to work synths better because I'm terrible at it.
You have it backwards. It's not the more instruments, it's the more ponies. Yes. The more ponies you have, the happier you are.
I'm sorry.
That's about it though. Thanks for the question.
Yes.
When you guys make a drum track for like a rock song, I was wondering, do you use like loops or sort of real drums and stuff?
Depends. Sometimes I use loops, but most of the time I actually manually program my own drums because I actually am a drummer myself. I just don't have a kit currently, which is kind of a pain. If I actually had my own kit or like a drum kit, I would just do the drums myself because I like being able to do that and do my own natural variations. But as it stands, when I'm doing drums for a track, then I'll just lay it down directly in MIDI and just have it played with samples or whatever that I have to hand.
What was the question?
How do you drum on some tracks?
This is a question best left to the drummer. So, okay. Well, if I have access to use my friend's studio, a nice acoustic kit, with my top and everything, so you have the actuals. Yeah, so if I can have access to my friend's studio, I'll record that. If not, though, I just end up programming Cubase because I'm poor. But no loops. As Sketchy said, just program manually, bit by bit, as you go. Yeah, so either a real kit or Cubase, they do drums. I don't. I started doing this since I realized I sucked at it. I used to use a sound font called Ultimate Drums that's going to show you. It's basically like every other MIDI program for drums. It's just that it's horrible. I don't use it now.
No, it's just that you suck at using it.
That's a bit mean. What is on?
I have no drum talent whatsoever, so I rely on the divine addictive drums, and it's loop band basically. I just find something that works, and if it seems something is off, I might go in and edit it a little bit, but I never do anything from scratch. I do not have the talent to do that, so I rely on finding a good loop and start working off of that.
Yeah, I also use addictive drums for my drums, and I am a drummer more than I am a guitar player, so I really love to play them myself, but I don't really have, I also have a kit, but I have no way of recording it, and right now I don't have a place to put my kit, so it's just a lot more manageable to just use a plugin, and even though addictive drums like it has loops, I do them all from scratch. I do loops like strike by strike, because that just gives me exactly what I want, exact like velocities that I wanted. Yeah, that's how I do it. Thanks for the question.
So, what would you say is the first thing that really got you into playing music?
To play music, or to play pony music specifically?
Any music, so like first, however you started out. Not necessarily what class.
Okay. Well, in my case, it was simply that when I was little, my dad played guitar quite a lot. He's a keen guitarist himself. And I just naturally took an interest in this because, like, well, you know, he's playing guitar and it's actually quite interesting. And I just asked him one day, would you teach me how to play? And he did quite happy because he had actually bought a smaller classical guitar specifically for teaching any of me or my brothers that wanted to learn. So it basically just went from there. He started teaching me how to play it, and I also took lessons when I was in school. And then later on started learning to play other instruments as well, and just progressed from there. It's essentially something I've always been interested in.
When I first got into music, I was really young. 6, 7. And wow, this one went to Cassie this big. Get no other reference. No. But yeah, you know, listening to things like TV show theme songs and film, the very kind of most notable one being the Pokemon theme song, of course. That was the one that I kind of had to go. That was the one that really made me pick up a guitar because I heard the full song and I was like, wow, that's so yeah, that's all that is.
For me, it was probably about the same idea. I got a small keyboard when I was little, and my first time that probably got me into music was probably the Star Wars tune. Yes. I think everyone's tried that at some point. What? What? What?
On stage.
What?
No, keep going. Speak.
I'm so confused, but okay, I'm just going to leave it there and pass it over. There you go. Oh, from there then. Okay.
Well, I was young and I listened to music and I was like, hey, I want to do that. So I did that.
Me, I grew up with my mom. She was always listening to music like 80s rock and everything else. So there's always been music around me. And she started singing and come on, sing along with me. And it just gradually escalated up to the point where I got myself a guitar, started playing badly, and yeah, that's it.
You're done?
Yes.
What got me into making music? The intro theme to Mega Man 3. Yeah. My parents forced me to go to piano lessons when I was 7 years old, and now I'm kind of glad I did. So that gave me a nice little
matter would be all over the place.
Yeah, basically, I think it would be one big mess. I mean, the cost of a buck. There will be, in the end of the day, there will be someone naked running the streets.
Why do we know?
Let's usually do that.
We're not doing this now. Oh, no.
Yeah, like everyone's like, that would be such a chaotic thing.
We broke everything core.
Hey, Brony. Okay. My question is to AcousticBrony, but it could be, I'd say, any of the musicians as an idea. My question is, are you considering doing another remix competition soon?
Oh, the remix one.
Yeah, the remix actually, because
Yeah, it's me. Oh, the record, no, don't remind me of that.
we might do another album. Rainbow.
Yeah, if we get around to it. If we can think of an idea for it, then yeah, most likely. Because that was a lot of fun. People seem to enjoy it. We got, I think it was about 30, 40 entries. Pretty good to go through. It's more. It was more.
Yeah, a lot more. We had like 30 on the
There was ones. And yeah, probably end up doing another one. If people want another one, yeah. Why not? There we go. Any of you guys ever do a remix? No. What is that?
Do you mean just like a remix?
No? Well, there we go.
Really fun.
What?
Oh, it's you again.
I'm so sorry.
You should be.
Yeah, so what's the weirdest thing you've done to actually like make a track?
Sorry? Weirdest thing?
Like, what's the weirdest thing you've done when making a track?
Oh, do you mean like in the process of making
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, I actually have a good story for this. How many of you were at the Ask Britannia panel earlier? Okay, well, you kind of missed out. Right. The Ask Britannia panel earlier, we had an intro video which had this whole massive parody of the state area. There's a character on the blog called Clarion Call, and she's an AI. She sounds a bit like GLaDOS. I voiced her. What I had to do in order to get the sound of her voice, because she did the very last part, the bit that goes, the bit in the regular song that goes, if the native cannot mix it and the married to a victim, then living armor will be. That bit, right? What I had to do in order to get Clarion Cole's voice, first of all, I had to run my voice through a pitch shifter. So my voice goes up by like an octave and a half. So I'm suddenly very high pitched. And then it also goes through G-Snap, which is a pitch corrector. It's a bit like Auto-Tune, but it's free and a bit less funky. So, with that in mind, I had to get Clarion Cole to sing in tune for her part, which meant that I had to sing not in the same key as the backing track. It was as difficult as it sounds, and I basically had to find an equivalent chord for where I needed to start on my guitar, play that so I had something good to go off of, and then sing that part of the song in that key instead of the normal one. And it was the weirdest thing I've ever had to do, because the backing track is in a completely different key, so it sounded wrong to me, but when it came through, it was right. So there you go, that's the weirdest thing I've ever had to do for a track.
No idea. Yeah, the pretty boring was the whole creative process. That's not to say we're going to try it, it's just never occurred. make it weird.
What, me?
Yeah, just generally.
Are you asking me?
Yes, I'm asking you.
Okay, right. Okay. Cool. No, we did something weird when we tried adding fake female vocals to the song. Maybe one really good one. I'm going to explain that. We wanted some female vocals in our what's that name? It was Corey's band. Okay, I loved it. And we couldn't do it, so we was like, okay, let's take Jimmy's vocals. And go into just any old software we can find and find like a voice transformer. And there was one that was male to female. Needless to say, it sounded like a chipmunk. Didn't sound like a girl at all. He doesn't need it.
It's because I'm too mad at it. It's because I'm too mad at it.
Yeah, it sounded really weird. As you can guess, we didn't keep it. I wish we had. It would have been interesting to perform. But yeah, that's probably the weirdest thing we tried to do and never actually went through with. Yeah.
I want to also make a
Oh yeah, we need to do this.
I live in the name of the street, I'm popular. Ready drive? No.
Yes. Does it have to be something I did 4 songs and with a song? I never did something really weird with. There's always one. There's always one. Shit, I'm not even retarded on this. That's not the stupid. Well, I never really did something weird with a song. I always tried to be, serious, because I never took this seriously. But me and Vix once did take a song and put it, meanwhile, while we were making it, just take it and put auto-tune. I remember that, you said me that. It's called Robot, it's a robot function of pixels and stuff. It's the most hilarious thing. If you hear regular guitar, it's like just hear it's very No.
I don't know any one song that did anything weird. The closest thing I can think of when it comes to doing something weird would be how we played the Summer Sun celebration.
Those are really stupid.
It's the dumbest way of doing it. I was playing straight from the digital audio workstation with a lot of automation and a lot of stuff that could go wrong. But yeah, that would probably be.
Oh, stupid, but you have to be honest and talk about something.
Well, yeah, but it's still it's really a strange way of doing things. So it doesn't really work, but
I can just imagine tech guys in the back. I do not like this. I stop it.
But yeah, that's the closest thing I can get to an answer.
Weird things to the song. I just really have Songwriting recorded 2 songs wearing only a towel and 1 song naked. It's not actually a favorite song. I do like a lot of joke songs that I just send to like 1 or 2 friends to another. So like this one time I like did a death metal parody. So I went to YouTube, I wrote pathology to the search bar, and I recorded like 20 seconds of the first thing that was there, and I added that to the intro to the song, I made it some demonic, and then I tempo like 800, put all snare drums, and did this to my guitar. And that was fun, and I triple tracked it, so I did this 3 times. And I probably look like an idiot while doing this. So I was full of club at that time. Nice! True. So yeah, I do a lot of weird things. You don't need to know what actually the question.
sort of got to